Hi everybody, it's Jean-Marie. I'm going to make a tutorial today showing you how to make this bracelet with coiled wire and crystal beads. We're going to be using these little flesh colored beads from the Bargain Bead Box, and it's pretty simple. Once you get going on it, it's a little bit of a it takes some finagling at some points, but for the most part it's just coiling wire and then running beads into the sections of coil. So let's go over what we're going to need. You're going to need an 18 gauge wire. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, an 18 gauge wire and a 20 gauge wire is what you're going to need. The 20 gauge wire is what you're going to coil with, and the 18 gauge wire is going to be what you run through the sections afterwards to hold your beads on and make your clasps. So from the 18 gauge wire, you're going to want to cut a piece. I cut mine about 20 inches. So you're just going to want to cut a piece about 20 inches. And then you're going to want to cut one more piece for the clasp, about 4 inches. And that's all you're going to need from the 18 gauge wire. The 20 gauge wire, you're going to work right from the coil. And you're not going to want to cut it until you get to the end. For tools, you're going to need just a pair of pliers just to crimp the ends of your coil and push it in. A pair of cutters to cut it loose. You can use whichever pair of pliers you choose. You're not going to need both really. And you're going to need your 6-step loopers. If you don't have a pair of 6-step loopers, you can use the ones with 2, but I wouldn't use the tapered, the ones we used when we do turned loops and all that. You're not going to want those because they do taper, and you want your coils to be very, very symmetrical. We're going to use the second smallest loop, or bail, to make our loops. And let me get stuff out of the way, and I will show you how we're going to do this. So like I said, we're going to be working from the coil. I'm going to pull off a lot to start with just so that I'm not banging the coil around. So you're going to take your wire. You're going to start kind of at the top, and you leave a little tail. And you're going to loop around a full loop. But after that, you're going to just be turning your pliers, loopers, and you're going to want to loop 6 coils. And you want to keep them very tight. And you want 6 complete coils. So mine didn't stay too tight there. And you can take your pliers if they didn't stay real tight and just kind of pull them back together. You want it to look like a spring. And then you want to make sure you've got 6 complete loops. Now I'm going to pause for a second, and I'm going to find my glasses because once again I have misplaced them. I'll be right back. So now I have 6 completed coils. I'm going to take my pliers out, and I'm going to put them right beside the coil we just made, kind of up to the top-ish. And I'm just going to start coiling again right underneath and off to the side of our other one. Again, trying to keep them really tight. If they don't come out super tight, I mean, you can see I've got gaps in this one. When it comes time to actually bead it up, that will help pull it together some too. You just don't want it to be real gappy. So there's my 6 coils on this side. And again, I'm going to move back to this side. That's 4, 5, and 6. And that's what you're going to do all the way down it. You're just going to keep repeating that. And you're going to keep going until you've made 35 loops. 35 loops will make a woman's size bracelet. You can go with thicker wire and add more loops and make a man's bracelet out of this. And then you add like some hematite or something like that. That's really something really manly, would be real pretty. So there is the start of it. And again, you're just going to keep going back and forth just like this, doing 6 coils per side till you've got 35 coils. So this is not my design by any means. I've seen it in a few places, so I want to give credit to those who have made it. I don't know whose design it is, so I can't do that. I have seen Sarah Lovecraft do earrings similar to this design. I have seen, I don't remember who, do a choker necklace from this design. And I've seen I think it's CCS or CL, I can't remember what her name is, what her channel is, but she actually did this bracelet. And that is where I saw it being made into the bracelet. So I'm just sticking these in here to show you what it's going to look like when we start beading it up. So that's what it will look like. I'm going to go off camera and do my 35 coils because nobody wants to sit here and watch me coil 35 coils. And I will be right back. So I am down to my last coil. This is number 35. And I did go and check. It is CSL Designs that made this exact same bracelet where I saw this being made. I did go ahead and cut my wire when I got to the end here because I knew I was coming to the end. I need one more coil. So there's my 35 coils. And you can see it's a little wonky. That's going to happen. Once we get the wire through it and the beads in it, it'll hold it flat and we can bend it and move it a little bit more at that point. I did go ahead and roll my end in. I'll show you how to do that when we get to this one. So the next thing you're going to do is take your piece of wire, again 20 inches, 22, 24, whatever you choose to make your bracelet length, and you're just going to fold it in half, kind of. You're not really going to crimp it or anything. We're just going to find the halfway point. And then we're going to take our veil making pliers. I think I'm going to go all the way to the second largest. And you're just going to fold in half just to create a loop. That is going to be where your clasps into. So from this point, you'll take a pair of your pliers, put it in kind of on so that you've got a little space here, and just bend it up. And then you're going to turn it over. Do the exact same thing. On this side. Then at this point, it's time to bring in the beads. Let me get my tools out of the way so they're not distracting. There we go. It's a little bit of focused now. You're going to take one bead, put it on the end of one of your wires, and then you're going to take the other side of your wire and you're going to put it through the first coil. Now this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky. After you get through that first coil, it's time to start feeding the beads on. And you've got to hold it, pull your wire kind of back a little bit, and pop it down in, and then try to run it right up through the which, like I said, there we go. You're gonna go right through, and I lost my bead. Okay, that's what not to do. And if you can find a way that works better for you, by all means do it. I mean, maybe doing something like this would work a little better. Let's see. And again, we're working with a wire that does not have the bead on it. Actually, that did work a little better. So that one's in there. I've lost my bead off the other one now. Now we're going to bring this one up through and do the same thing. And when you're doing this, you will find the rhythm that works best for you. See, that one went in prompt. Just about to say that one went in fine. Can be a little bit fiddly. Thankfully it's wire, and wire is a little flexible. So I'm going to push it up and just show you how this is going to look now. And this is what you're going to start having as you work your way up through these coils. It's not easy for me to do it under the camera because I'm trying to watch it through my iPad instead of, just watching my hands work. And it's not real easy, so I'm going to go off and finish doing this. But that's all you're going to do is you're going to continue working your wires back and forth. And I'll pull it back and do one more. And you don't really want to bend your wire. You can flex it a little bit, but you really don't want to bend it because that's just going to put a kink in it, and once you get a kink in it, it's going to be there. So just try to be sort of gentle with it, get it to work. See, that one went in just fine. Just taking my time. So just take your time, wire them up through. One bead at a time, back and forth up the coil until you get all the way to the end, and I will be back when I'm done with mine. So I've made it to the end. I have my one last bead to put on. And this is what I have. I did cut my 18 gauge maybe a little shorter than I should have, but it's actually going to be just enough. Doesn't give me a lot to work with. So I'm just tightening my coils back up now because they do get a little wonky, especially when you're moving stuff to get those beads on. And this is the finished product here. If you want to use store-bought hardware, you know, that's a choice that's up to you. So this last little tail, I'm going to just trim it. And this is what I did at the other end as well. And I'm just going to take my pliers, just kind of turn it in, and push it right into that hole a little bit. And there you have it. Now on this end, I don't have a lot to work with on this side. I do have enough. I am going to trim it just a smidge. So about a 1/2 inch. And I'm going to take my round nose pliers, which I guess I didn't mention that we need those. I guess you could still use the bail making pliers actually, but your choice. I'm just going to roll a loop. Try to straighten it out just a smidge. Smidge must be the word of the day. Going to trim this one off. Do the same thing. And I'm rolling them to the side of the bracelet, not up and down, but this way. And then I'm going to take my pliers and just give them a little straightening, because the wire inside of it is twisting back and forth, so it is moving them on me a little bit, but that's okay. Just want to pull them together a little bit. So there we have that. And then we're going to take our smaller piece, and this is where I'm saying you might just want to buy hardware. It's perfectly fine. You're going to take your piece and fold it kind of in half again like we did before. Find the midpoint. Only this time we are going to close it up. And take my pliers. So we have this. Straighten it out as much as I possibly can here. And then take your bail making pliers. Go down about a 1/2 inch. And just bend it. So you have this. I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and come in underneath here. Just grab the tip of it, kink it up just a little bit. I'll flush cut these off a little. Okay, up just about 3/4 of an inch from the end of the bend. I'm just going to cut them both off. And again, take my bail making pliers, and this time with the smallest bail, getting them flush, just roll them back to complete a loop. Tighten them up just a little bit more than that, I think. That's a little better. So I'm just going to kind of split it just a little bit, bend them out slightly. And you're going to twist it open like a jump ring. feed it onto one of these loops. Close it back up, nice and tight. Turn it over. Do the same thing. Close that one up. And then we're just going to work on, just going the wrong way here, work on curving our bracelet. And if you have a bracelet mandrel, that would be a lot easier. I do not. And there's your clasp. And there you go. And spend a little time just getting everything bent into place and straightened out for you. But there is your completed bracelet. I did this one with square wire. There you have it. Pretty little wire wrap bracelet with the crystals from the Bargain Bead Box. And I think it looks really pretty. You do have to spend a little time getting everything all lined up and in shape, but again, if I had a bracelet mandrel, it would be a little easier. So there you go. I think it came out very pretty. I hope everyone likes it. And of course, this would work with any 6mm bead because of the 6 coil. Each coil is kind of a millimeter, so it works really well with a 6mm bead because you want this depth here to line up. So if you went with an 8mm bead, you would want 8 coils. But there you have it. And it's pretty easy to put on. So I say. And it's going to make a liar out of me, so. But, yeah, it is very easy to clasp. I hope you like it, everybody. I'm looking forward to seeing what creative things everyone else comes up with out of their Bargain Bead Box. And I will be back with another tutorial at some point in time. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day. So until then, bye.